is Paul with a heads up for you about the colors in this video. I've made it all in gray and black and white. And just want you to know that that was on purpose. There's not anything wrong with your devices or your computers. The reason I did that is so that you would pay attention to the words that I speak and the words that are written on the video. This is what's important. Not the pictures and not me. Hi everybody, this is Paul. I'm going to talk about faith today and in probably the next 2 or 3 future videos. What it is, what God says it is, and also about what religion says faith is. Now, you're probably going to be surprised to learn that what God says and what religion says are not the same thing. So how do we know that? Well, we have to begin by looking at the scriptures. So here we go. Before I talk about faith, I need to insert a short word about listening to God's voice. You're going to hear me talking about that a lot. And the reason for that is that listening to God's voice is perhaps the biggest issue in the Bible. Sad to say, it's also an issue that is not talked about much in church or in religion of any kind, unless people are talking about hearing the scriptures, which is not a good substitute for hearing God's voice. You really need to hear God's voice in your heart, not with your ears. If you don't hear it with your heart, then you haven't really heard God's voice. And we'll be talking about that a lot later on. So I hope you stick with us for that. So that said, we'll begin our study of faith by looking at Hebrews 1:1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for. Faith is the conviction of things not seen. So the question here is, what do we hope for, and what is it that's not seen? What we typically say we hope for is going to heaven. And what is the thing that's not seen? We typically say that that's seeing Jesus come in the clouds, or seeing God in our friends and family when we go to heaven. Sorry, but that's not what God is referring to here. The things hoped for should be, and what God wants us to hope for, is hearing His voice. If we're not hoping to hear His voice, then we're missing everything that God is trying to teach us in the Bible. And the things not seen, again, God's talking about His voice. You can't see a voice. You hear a voice. This goes back to God's commands many times that we should listen to His voice. And we'll talk about those in future videos. So the thing that we hope for is to hear God's voice, and the thing that is not seen is God's voice. If we interpret it any other way, we're misinterpreting what God is trying to tell us in this verse. So obviously this is complicated stuff, so I want to do my very best to make sure you understand. So let me summarize it this way. If you can see what it is you hope for, then you're probably doing it because you've been taught that by religion. So seeing natural things is a religious activity. But if you can't see it, and you're hoping for hearing God's voice, and that is your focus, to hear God's voice, then you're getting it. Hope that makes sense. If it does make sense, then I would say you are beginning to hear God's voice. If it doesn't make sense, then you're probably not hearing. I think I need to insert a little side note here about heaven and hell. These two topics are really big in religion, so they need further explanation. And I just hope that you would tune in. I don't know when I'll get to that, but they will be topics in their own right in a future series. So I hope you come back for those.